All right, so we are going to start. Are you ready?
Right.
All right, so good afternoon. I am Shay. We are joined here with Alan Rudd and Myrna Leach. And we just wanted to start the few questions off. We'll kind of see where everything, flows to. But the first question I have for you is, did you move here or were you born here?
I was born in Pemberton
Yep.
on 11th of February 1937, the day that a huge big fire went through Northcliffe. And for my father to know that I'd been born, you couldn't travel on the road between Northcliffe and Pemberton. He had to ride his bike and lift it over the burnt trees.
Oh, wow.
That was my interview for
Yeah,
being born
okay.
in Pemberton.
Wow. That's an interesting story to have attached to your birth. Wow. So, any more on that? What did your dad make it in time or?
Oh, no. He had to attend to the fire and he didn't know if I'd been born or not.
Ah.
So when things had died down a bit, then he couldn't get through on anything. Not even the horse was...
Yeah,
it's
right.
really safe to take a horse.
Yeah.
So he just took the push bike, lifted over the trees and, found out I'd been already born.
What an amazing story. All right, so... so your maiden name, so your dad was a Rudd?
No, he was Reg J.
Oh, yes, sorry. All right.
John William Reginald, to be precise, yeah. But my grandfather, they called him, his name was John too, but they called him Jack.
Yep.
J, yeah.
Jack J.
Yeah.
Sorry, and then you married...
Tony Rudd.
Yep.
And
was the
he
start of
always
Rudds.
remembered my birthday simply because he was 10 years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
And the day that fire went through over where he lived on Burra Road,
Yep.
it was the smoke was that bad in the school they had to light the lanterns.
Oh, wow.
And he said, so I know exactly the day that you were born.
Wow, interesting. So then you were on the farm for some time?
Yes.
When after your
Yes.
birth, yep. And then you and Tony had children?
Yes.
Yep. And then Alan, did you have the kids down here?
Yes.
And they grew up down here?
They were all born in Pemberton
Yep.
and all went to school in Northcliffe.
Beautiful.
We
Isn't
were
that
all-
interesting? The generations that have come through Northcliffe Primary School.
And my grandchildren.
Yep.
And now I've got
Yeah,
great-grandchildren.
great-grandchildren, yeah. So my children are there now.
Yeah.
So what are your memories from the farm growing up?
Well, my memories were basically simple memories. We didn't have a lot. However, we didn't want for anything. There were others who were a lot worse off than we were.
Mm-hmm.
But, at 10 years old, for example, we were allowed to have a gun.
Yeah,
And
okay.
we were trained by my father in how to safely use a gun.
Yep.
You'd also always put the gun through the fence first, lay
Yep.
it on the ground, and then you would climb through the fence, pick up the gun and whatever. You'd only be given like 2 or 3 bullets, so you had to be a good shot if you wanted to get a rabbit or whatever
Yep.
for dinner.
Yep.
You didn't waste your bullets.
Yeah, okay.
So, we had bikes and things like that, and we used to ride quite some distances.
Yeah, okay.
Mum never used to worry about us until it got dark. They'll be home.
Yeah, yeah.
Eventually they'll get hungry. They'll come
Yeah,
home.
yeah.
And
So what happens if you didn't get a rabbit?
Oh, we always got a rabbit.
Yeah, okay.
Always got a rabbit,
Yep.
if you wanted a rabbit.
Yeah, okay.
But, I can remember we used to go on long walks out into the forest, and we'd take a calculated guess on
Yep.
occasions and say, well, I can walk out so far, but I won't be able to walk home. It's too far. And we just hoped that my father was coming along that road
Yeah,
And
okay.
sometimes as dusk was starting to fall, you get a bit worried.
Yeah, okay.
Am I going to have to walk all this distance home in the dark? Things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So, they're my memories.
Yep,
You enjoyed going to school
yep,
because I didn't go to school to learn.
yep,
All I went to school for was to play.
yep. So what's changed over the generations, hey? I think kids today are still thinking the same thing.
Probably.
Yeah, it's just a social affair.
I can remember one of the things I actually did when we went to school. I'll go out on a limb here, but me and a guy by the name of Russell Warren,
Yep.
we decided that we were going to take black powder to school and we were going to shoot crows.
Oh.
And so we made cracker guns. And at lunchtime we went back behind the fuel depot
Yep.
and we're trying to shoot these crows.
My goodness.
And obviously we weren't that good a shot with cracker guns and we didn't get any.
Yep.
However, there was an assembly very shortly after.
Yep.
The whole school was paraded. We know who you are. We will get you.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, you've got no idea who's done this. Otherwise, you wouldn't have got the whole school in assembly. So we got away with it, along with a
Okay.
lot of other things that we did
Yep.
in those days.
Do you want to share some things? What else?
Well, if you did those sort of things these days, you'd probably go to jail for being a terrorist.
Yeah, definitely.
But times have changed.
Yeah.
Every self-respecting kid had a chemistry set, and in that was the basic ingredients to make gunpowder.
Okay.
So why would you do anything different?
Yeah, that is true. What do you think of this, Nan?
I'm learning.
Yeah. Getting all the information now after how many years? It's coming to you now.
Yeah.
60-odd years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you and Uncle Shane? What did you guys... Who out of the children were the ones that clustered together and got into the most trouble?
Probably Alan and Shane.
Oh. What did you two get up to?
Well, not a lot really. We were probably fairly competitive with each other.
Yep. As brothers would be.
We used to fight a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember used to have a Slav cream truck driver come to the place one day, and me and Shane were fighting. And there's snot and fur and whatever going everywhere because we used to get right into it. And he said to Mum later, he said, I love my boxing. He said, but what I've seen your two boys do today is the best fight that I've seen in a long time.
Okay.
So, yes.
No prior training?
No, it was just an innate thing that was built into you.
Yeah. Yeah, especially when it's brother rivalry.
So, and Shane went on to, he learnt judo and stuff like that, or one of the martial arts. It may not have been judo. Karate. And
Oh, yeah, Uncle Shane speaks
he used
of...
to teach a lot of other kids.
Yep.
And I remember I was much older, and I come home, and Shane had his training equipment there, and I said to Shane, and I put the shield up against my side, and I said, give me your best shot. And I was sitting there rather relaxed.
Yeah.
And if I hadn't had that shield on, I would have had to extract his foot from my rib cage somewhere.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, he doubled me up, he did. So, but no, we all went out fishing together and things like that.
Yep.
And we travelled over east together at one point and stuff like that as we grew up.
Yeah, beautiful.
And then we all got families of our own
Yeah.
and sort of spread out a little bit.
Yep.
And, so basically that's it. And I had a sister called Janine.
Mm-hmm.
She was the next one after Shane. Then come Max. Then come Gail. And then come Kevin.
Yeah, okay.
So, and you know Kevin.
Yes, Kevin is my father-in-law.
That's it, exactly.
I know him.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I didn't realise... Because I always thought Max was the oldest. Yeah, okay.
No.
So that's intriguing to know, yeah. Okay, so you're the oldest.
Correct.
Yeah, and then Uncle Shane.
Yep.
Janine, Max,
Yeah.
Gail, Kevin. Yeah, okay.
That's it.
So Kevin's a baby.
Exactly.
Will forever be the baby? What are your fondest memories that you can remember of the kids growing up?
Well, being a mother, lots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
But I
can resonate with that.
But I can always remember I was, how you pick up certain things and you're very sick,
Yep.
for 24 hours and then you're right.
Mm-hmm.
It's not
Yep.
serious.
Yep.
And I remembered I had to milk the cows on my own because Tony was away.
Mm-hmm.
And Alan was probably only 2.5 maybe.
Yep.
And I got into bed and he didn't want to go in his bed. He always slept in his own bed.
Mm-hmm.
And he sat beside me and put his arms around me. And I woke up about 12:30 at night and he was still sitting there in the same place with his arms around me. And he said,
Aw.
"Are you all right, Mum?" And I said, "Yes, love." And I said, "You go back to bed."
Oh, how sweet.
It was lovely. Because he sat there all that time.
Did you ever know why he did it, or he just had...
Well, he did say, Daddy's not here to look after you. I will.
Yeah, okay. So you took on the man of the house.
Yeah.
Well, probably for the briefest of moments.
Yep.
But I mean, to put things into some perspective, I think I'll just relate a little story. We were about 8 years old and there'd been a major fire in the district and Mum and Dad, or Tony Rudd and my mother
Yep.
Myrna, they had to go to court as a witness as to what occurred. And anyway, after the court case, they come home and it was probably 8 o'clock at night or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing they wanted to do was milk the cows. And, well, we said, "You don't have to." "What do you mean?" "It's already done." "Well, who did it?" And we individually could not start the old MacDonald engine,
Yeah.
diesel engine,
Mm-hmm.
but I could crank it and Shane operated the DSP lever and we got it going. Once we got the engine going, then we could milk the cows.
Yeah, okay.
And so we milked the cows and cleaned up and whatever, and Mum and Dad were none the wiser that we'd gone through this
Yeah.
exercise. But as kids, you were able to do that.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, the modern generation, I don't think would be able to do anything like that at all.
No, definitely not. Yeah. So
So-
how old were you guys?
Well, I would have been about 8.
Yep.
Shane would have been about 7.
Yeah, okay.
Um,
That's pretty impressive.
However, I mean, we were fairly safety conscious.
Yep.
You know, Dad always impressed, but think about what you're doing.
Yep.
Don't just go and do something without thinking of the consequences or whatever. And so that's why we were able to do these kinds of activities but not get hurt.
Yeah, yep.
So, or maybe there was a bit of luck in it.
Yeah,
But,
maybe.
We generally pulled it off.
Yeah, beautiful. That's always a plus, isn't it? So can you recall how you felt? Like when you got home and you had heard that they had milked this cow and done all this?
I nearly died of fright.
Yeah, I bet. As a mother.
Yeah. Because I
So you just had the two at the time?
No.
Or was Janine...
I was having Gail, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was pregnant with
Yep.
Gail.
So Janine and Max were kids as well?
That's correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So where were those two when this all come about?
Would have been with Tony's mum.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep. So they were with Grandma at the
Yeah.
time, and then it was just these two left to their
Yeah.
own devices to milk
But-
the cow.
They were very capable.
Yep.
It's just that you nearly died of fright that many times with what they did.
Talking about dying of fright, we used to have a mile to walk to the school. And this particular day, we thought we were going to engage in some snake hunting.
Oh, God.
And about 100 yards away from the bus stop, there was this big pile of boards. So we were lifting up all these boards, and all of a sudden, sure enough, we'd found a snake.
Yep.
And we said, "Snake, look out." And it was Max just bolted blindly. And as he went to put his foot down, the snake put its head under the board and his foot is on top as he's running away.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got a long stick and we got this snake and it wrapped itself around the end of the stick. But because we were so late coming home, Mum come up the road in the car. Why are they so late? And Mum had a heart failure, whereas we've got this tiger snake on the end of this 6 or 8 foot stick. And as it's coming up the stick, we'd shake it back down to the other end of the stick and then carry it some more.
Oh, my goodness.
She was not happy at all.
I couldn't imagine.
Yeah. So
And Janine says, so happy, she said, piped up and she said, "Mummy, we've got ourselves a snake."
Oh, my gosh. So she was pleased with it as well.
Oh, yeah, she was, yeah. But as I was saying that, the snake uncoiled and it went in the bush. It just went off the end of the stick, didn't it?
I can't remember that bit.
Yeah, I did, thank God.
I can just remember Mum being horrified that we had this snake on the stick. And we carried it halfway home by that stage.
My
We
gosh.
had. Yeah.
My goodness. So Janine having the 3 brothers, or the 2 older brothers maybe,
Max was,
that were...
Max was much quieter.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So did you find Janine and Max kind of just followed your lead? Was it you and Uncle Shane that were kind of getting in there?
Not necessarily. I remember we went and followed the old Jane formation, I think it was, and we all had our bikes.
Yep.
We had no idea, so we're way out towards the Shannon somewhere, and we got to the Shannon River, and that's where the Jane formation stopped. Yep. And I had a rough idea that the lower Shannon River Road was not that far away. So I basically forced the rest of them to push their bikes through the bush along with me, and sure enough, we come to the lower Shannon River Road. But the lower Shannon Road, but it was a lot further than what I anticipated.
Yeah, okay.
And then we had to head northwards up the lower Shannon Road, then back home through Shannon, back to Northcliffe again.
Yeah, wow.
So that was just a day's little escapade.
Yeah.
So, but we could have got lost in there and no one would have known where we were.
No. Sounds like an adventure.
Yeah, always was. Huckleberry Finn.
Yeah. But Big Brother influence as well. Just tagging the rest of the crew, rest of the brothers and sister
Yep.
along for the ride. My goodness. All right, so let's go to one of these questions. So yeah, paint us a picture of what a day looked like when the kids were young. And you mentioned going out and getting milk, but was that normally like your thing to do? Like, were you the one that went out and usually got the milk?
To milk.
Yeah, sorry. To go out and milk the cow, was that usually like your job basically?
Depending on which period you're talking about. But, in our first years of married, we both milked together.
Yeah, okay.
And then things got hard, so Tony, my late husband, went out and worked out. Mm-hmm. You know, like he worked in the forestry, he worked up the tower tree too.
Yeah, okay.
In both Barara and the, what do you call it?
He also worked for R&N Palmer.
That was later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so he did what he had to do to make ends meet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, things were tough in those days.
Yep.
But people did what they had to do. It was as simple as that.
See, in those days, people don't realise we never had power or anything like that. If you wanted to light your stove to cook your dinner, you went and got your wood.
Yep.
So if you went across the paddock, you picked up a bag and picked up the little bits of wood as you went, and all that type of thing. And water was always short in the summertime, and it's totally different.
Yeah.
People don't understand that anymore.
No, can't just
This
start
was
cooking.
my memory of a typical day.
Yeah.
Mum's already mentioned about when things got a little tougher and Dad had to go out to work. Well, what used to happen, Dad used to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, go get the cows, bring them in. He would do the milking.
Yep.
And then Mum would go down once the milking was finished and she would clean the dairy.
Yep.
Now, in that period between Mum going down to the dairy to clean,
Yep.
she used to start the breakfast. And I was about 5 years old. And she said, now, wait till the clock gets to whatever it was,
Yep.
then put that on. And we had it fairly well worked out. By the time that Dad come back to the house, his bacon and his eggs or whatever it was ready for him to eat.
Yep.
So then he'd go off to work. Mum would do what she had to do.
Mm-hmm.
Then she'd come up, and then if we was of school age, she would get us ready to go to school, and we would walk up the road to catch the bus. So that was a typical start to the day.
Yeah.
Then we would go off to school, come home, probably devour a loaf of bread or something like that because we was starving, hungry,
Yep.
and you'd start the milking process again.
Yeah, okay.
So that was basically how it worked.
Oh, it's definitely intriguing to hear how different, the times have come. Like how differently, like you say, like how different people live today. We'll never know how you guys lived.
You'd probably call it slave labour today.
Probably
But
would,
no one knew any different in
Yeah.
those days.
Yeah, it was just the
I mean,
normal.
little kids worked in factories and things like that.
Yep.
At least we didn't do any of that.
Yep.
Like Alan said, they had bread and things to eat, when they come home. He didn't add that they ate that much cheese to put on the piece of bread. And I got a letter from the school dentist.
Yep.
He wanted to speak to me in the school. And when I got in there, he said to me, "Why do you think your children have the best teeth in the whole of the school?" I said, "Well, it's not really up to me." And he said, "Well, what do they eat?" And I said, "Well, they have a great big round of cheese and the carving knife and and the piece of bread."
Yeah.
And that was, well, you did, didn't you?
Well, we know today that what's really good for teeth is casein,
Yeah.
and that is in cheese in a big way.
Yep.
So maybe the dentist was on to something way back in those days,
Yeah.
although they didn't know what.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
he said that they're doing everything. He said, "What do they do eat before they go to sleep at night?"
Yep.
I said, "They usually have a carrot or an apple." He said, "Well, don't quote me, but if every child had a carrot before they went to sleep, they wouldn't need a toothbrush."
Okay.
So I'm telling you.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
I'll put it this way, I'm knocking on the door to 70, and
Yep.
I just had 2 wisdom teeth out, top and bottom,
Yep.
and I've still got 2 more to go, and there's not too many people my age have got their wisdom teeth.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
something was right.
Yep. Yeah.
And I never, we didn't have access to dentist
Yeah.
in our town, and
Yep.
you still don't.
Yeah.
It's, it was a school dentist that came around every few years.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
No
right.
fluoride or anything like that
Yeah.
in the water.
Yeah.
No. Definitely not.
No, well, no. But this is just my opinion. But I was brought up on plain country.
Yep.
I lost my teeth. My father was brought up on the plain country. He lost his teeth. But my mother was brought up in the Curry country. She kept her teeth, and so have my children, because they were brought up in Curry country.
Yeah. Okay.
That is just my opinion.
Yeah. What do you believe is so I understand, like, what is the difference between the two?
Well, there's something in the soil which the animals are getting.
Yeah.
Because you have the cheese, you have the milk, you have the butter.
Oh, yeah. So it's like the cycle.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah, yeah.
By
Makes
observing.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the plain country was regarded as poor country until after WW2, when trace elements become available,
Yeah.
And so then that made that type of country a viable proposition, because prior to that the livestock wouldn't thrive.
Yep.
So whereas in Curry country they thrived much better.
Yeah, yeah.
So it could be something like that, just the
Yeah.
nutrients that was available to
Yeah.
the people, vegetables, livestock, whatever.
It's definitely an interesting one. Yeah.
But
All right.
that's just my... But what my father, when I was very small, my father was talking to another gentleman, and he said, I've observed the cattle that he brought in were big-boned.
Yep.
But after quite a few years of breeding, the animals were losing that big bone structure.
Yeah, okay.
So to me, that's calcium.
Mm.
And I was only probably 5 or 6 years older.
Yeah, okay. Kind of makes sense.
But to supplement the diet, Mum, or Myrna's father, he used to spend a lot of time on the coast,
Yep.
and he'd catch fish and salt fish and things like that, catch a lot of marron, cobblers, all those sorts of things that he could get from the environment, whereas a lot of people didn't have the wherewithal or the knowledge to get that,
Yeah.
so they found surviving on the land extremely difficult.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You even heard stories about some people being so poor that they ate grass.
Yeah, okay.
That's fairly shocking to think that actually occurred.
Yeah.
But once upon a time there was 5,000 people or something like that in Northcliffe, and now there's nothing like it, and probably never ever will be.
Yeah.
So, and other people that had come from the UK as immigrants, no experience with the land whatsoever. A cow would die in the creek, which unfortunately was above where they would draw the water from the house, and all the kids in the family died.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it wasn't until after they'd all died that they figured out what had gone on.
Yeah, okay.
So, so as I say, it was, for a lot of people, it was shocking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the authorities had a big part to play in that. They put people into an environment that they just knew nothing about. So as I say, and most people come to depression just walked off,
Yeah.
left everything.
Yeah.
Everything they'd worked for, just walked away and left it.
Yeah, okay.
And they called it the midnight flit,
Yep.
because when the train was drawing out of the station from Northcliffe to leave to go to Perth, they would secretly get in the wagons.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So wanted to escape that badly.
Well, that's it. It was
They
either that
had
or
it.
starve.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were starving.
They were starving as it was. You know, I can remember, like, to give you an idea what it was like when they first come here, this is some from my grandmother, old Sissy Rudd. That's my father's mother. She come from, well, she was one of the original early suffragettes.
Yep.
So that gives you an insight as to into her situation. And she come from what was probably a middle-ish class family. She worked as a secretary, which was pretty well unheard of because her father was in worked for a steel business.
Yep.
And so they used to have seamstresses and things like that would come around to their home and make their clothes and whatever. And when she come to Australia, all her dresses, the mice ate holes in them within the first 3 months.
Oh, no.
She was absolutely devastated and never stopped crying
Yeah,
for 3
okay.
months, as she said. And she said, if it hadn't have been for World War One,
Yep.
like her husband George Rudd, my grandfather,
Yep.
he suffered the horrors of the Somme and other things like that. He also got gassed. And she said, if it hadn't have been for that, I don't believe that we would have ever immigrated to Australia. Because he come from a family. He wanted to be a vet, among other things. He come to Australia to get away from it. That's what
Yep.
Sissy Rudd, my grandmother, said.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got no doubt there's probably a lot of truth in that.
Yeah.
But he did everything he possibly could to survive. He used to get stuff sent back from the family business in the UK to sell to other settlers and things like that. But once the Depression come in, no one had any money to do anything with.
Yeah.
But he was quite a scholarly kind of person, and he learnt radio, things like that. So he used to make radios, he used to repair radios. I can remember a story that my father told me that heaven help them if they made a noise during news hour during World War II,
Yep.
because he made solar batteries out of beer bottles.
Oh,
And
wow.
they used to get a hot wire, and they used to put it 3/4 of the way up the neck of a beer bottle
Yep.
and heat it up, and that used to crack the bottle so it was nice. And he had a dozen of these set up alongside the house, which used to get sunlight.
Yep.
I don't know what solution that was in them,
Yep.
but that was what used to power his radio during the war years when they couldn't get batteries.
Yeah, wow.
But it was only lasted for long enough to actually listen to the news.
Yeah, okay.
So it was big trouble if you
Yeah.
made a noise and you missed something.
I bet.
But that's the
yeah.
sort of people that, the sort of things that people did.
Mm.
You know, every settler had an old medicine chest,
Yep.
and half the medication in there was cocaine and opiates and things like that. You go
Yep.
to jail for that these days.
Yeah, you will.
But they had nothing else but to try and figure out what was wrong, and they used to self-medicate.
Yeah, right.
So it was vastly different. And the family still got one of those original medicine chests,
Yeah, okay.
which I think is going to be on display
Is it?
somewhere
Yeah.
for the Northcliffe 100-year celebrations.
Yeah, okay.
Shane's donated it or loaned it
Yeah, yep.
to the museum, I think it is.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
So, it gives you a bit of an insight as to
Yeah.
how things were.
Beautiful. No, well, I think that concludes everything. I think that was a very good, chat, and thank you for joining us. Just to throw in there quickly, were you here when there were dingoes?
No,
Yeah,
no,
they weren't?
no.
Okay.
I heard all about them,
Yeah.
but no.
Okay.
So, no, and I don't know when they disappeared. But I did personally have a dingo myself.
Okay. Yeah, right. Do you want to share some on that?
Well, there's a gentleman who used to go work up north.
Yeah.
And I was on the farm, and I woke up this day and I found a bitch dog in my garage, and she had little pups. And anyway, I put a notice in the paper, and this gentleman came around, and he said, do you mind if I leave them here with the mother,
Yep.
the dog?
Yep.
And I said no, because I love little pups.
Yep.
And he said, would you like to have one? And I said, oh, that little creamy one there.
Yeah.
What I didn't know, it was a dingo.
Oh, wow.
But it was the only one in the batch that was.
Oh.
And no, it was a beautiful dog, wasn't it, Alan?
Yeah, the story was that the mother was a blue heeler,
Yeah.
Yep.
which has got part dingo in him anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And the gentleman's name was a stockman, and his name was Wally Morn, and he used to do a lot of work or stock work on the coast down towards Fish Creek, Cootamara, down
Yep.
through that country. And the bitch got impregnated by, obviously, a dingo dog,
Yep.
and he was the one of the products of that.
Yeah, okay.
So, if you don't mind, Mum, I'll go on with the story a little bit.
Except he'd been up north when that dog was impregnated.
Wally Morn,
Yeah.
that's correct. However, the other bit that I wanted to bring to the audience's attention was that dog grew up, and for a short period we lived in town, and so the Shire Ranger would come around, and you'd had to licence your dog. And my sister, being inquisitive, was wanting to know what was going on.
Yep.
And she said to him while he was talking to the next door neighbour who had a dog, "Oh, we've got a dog." And he said, "Oh, have you now?" So the ranger looks over the fence and he looked at it, and he was a well-travelled gentleman.
Yep.
And he said, "I did not see that dog."
Yeah.
And because
okay.
he knew straight away what it was.
Yeah.
Even though it was only a part dingo, appearance-wise, it was a perfect match.
Beautiful.
And I used to hold the dog up when he was still a young dog, and you could see kangaroos in the distance, and he would not bark, he would howl,
No, he doesn't.
Okay.
like the dingo.
Yeah, right.
And he was a very possessive dog.
Yep.
If any bitch ever come on heat in town, he would take it away for 3 or 4 days, and neither him or the bitch would be seen until he'd done his business.
Yeah, okay.
And he'd bring them home. So,
Yeah.
there you go.
But nobody could come near me.
Yeah, okay.
No,
Protective. That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool. Ah.
yeah, no.
No, well, thanks for sharing the story, and yeah, thanks for coming in. Really appreciate having a chat with you guys. So yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you very much.